I keep it juicy, juicy. I eat that.
Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Good morning. What song is that off of? Was that Kanye? I don't know if that was Kanye. But nonetheless, you guys, good morning. How we do? Your girl is halfway past tired. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I have been MIA, you guys. So before we get into this review, let me apologize. I know I'm coming late with these reviews, but let me tell you something. I was on auntie duty. My nieces and nephew were out for summer. Obviously, school's out. So they were down here for like a whole week. And they are 15, 14, and 6. So for those of you who have kids, you can understand like, okay, those are ages that keep you occupied, okay? But nonetheless, I was busy with them, had fun with them. So now it's time to get right back at it. I'm waking up this morning. Hopefully, you see the sun's back coming up just a little bit. I literally am having to catch up on umpteenth hours of sleep that I lost playing auntie with them kids, okay? But yeah, we got to catch up on Love and Marriage Huntsville, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and also I want to get back into Real Housewives of Rhode Island because I just caught up in the episode and Liz and Alicia, ooh baby, they're going back at it, okay? But yeah, we need to go ahead and get into these things. I apologize that I need to start uploading, I guess, on my page more, like on my community, so you guys know when I'm gonna be like, you know, what does it say? You're out of town. When you flip that thing, it says like out of town. We'll be back, you know. But yeah, you guys, let's go ahead and let's knock out. Let's do Love and Marriage Huntsville first because I watched that recently. So, how did the episode start? Let me think. It's morning, y'all. Forgive me. It's morning. Forgive me. The episode started with Kimmy and Maurice. Yeah, Kimmy and Maurice basically were discussing, you know, going on this trip. And, you know, Kimmy basically was like, you know, everybody, for those, you know, this would be a good place for those who aren't necessarily in a good place, you know, in their relationship. And I'm like, for those... What do you mean for those? Include yourself. Like, I know you and Maurice are like play happy right now and like y'all are good for TV. But behind the scenes, Kimmy, we know you are not only disgusted, but also annoyed, yet still supportive of your butterball head ass husband. Like, ultimately, because, and like he's on the same BS because when she asked him about, oh, what should you always have on a couples trip, or what should you always or what you always do, or what you always have, what's always necessary for a couples, that's what it's like, what's always necessary for a couples trip. And of course, what did Maurice say? Sex. So even with all the backlash and all of the correction and even all of just like how Kimmy tries to get him to explain, like, or tries to explain to him like what it sounds like when you're saying these things, he don't care. He don't care, Kimmy. I know that's hard for you to see and understand, but that don't care, okay? It's still all about the Uchi Walla Bang Bang for him. You are his refrigerator, okay? He said that in couples counseling. You are his refrigerator. Just like his daddy be telling him to stay out the refrigerator, you are telling him to stay out from in between your legs. And he don't want to do it because he's being told not to. And he refuses to follow rules and refuses to follow boundaries of other people. The Scott brothers is two sides of the same coin, okay? But nonetheless, also what's get brought up is Kimmy basically saying like, you know, Martell is coming and she don't want Martell to come. But Maurice is like, you know, he's been good. You know, everything's been real good with him. You know, I previously talked to him like, I just feel like it'd be fair for him to come. So Kimmy basically told Maurice, look, that's your dog. That's your pit bull. Keep him on a leash. You're going to be responsible for him, right? So everybody shows up. It's super nice, super cute. they have like these different like cabins, and each one has like a different theme. So we see Martell and Destiny. Destiny, I guess, pulls up to Martell's, cabin and stuff, and she sees it. She's like, oh shit, this is nice. And she was like, you don't think this is kind of like, iffy? You being right next to the Scotts and stuff like that. And he was like, nah, she's like, oh, that, you don't think it's like a setup, da-da-da-da. And he was like, nah. And so she's like, I mean, I just say, with all the stuff that you've been saying about all the stuff you've been talking about, like, oh, Tisha, she was in the Buick this, and oh yeah, that, he's the color, he got two-toned, and stuff like that. And Martell was like, oh yeah, that was funny. He was like, cause who has that? Like, who do got a two-tone peen or whatever. And so for me, I felt like Destiny was almost fishing for him to be having his qualms with the Scotts just because she's having her qualms with Tisha. Like, you see what I'm saying? But it's like, girl, Destiny, don't do that. But because one, you don't even need to do that because Martell is going to do that on his own as we see what happens at the end of the episode, But I was just like, I was kind of peeping Destiny. I was like, girl, I see what you're doing. So then, Destiny has her cabin. They invited Will. I think they added Will just kind of as like an extra piece. And also to kind of like play into the narrative of like, oh, Destiny's dating around type stuff, even though they're clearly not there together because they're two single people. And we know like Will clearly is an F-boy. Like he already was flirting. Talking about, oh, let me sit on your bed. Is it comfy? And she was like, he's like, oh, you got a hot tub? He was like, have you ever been in a hot tub with a friend? And she like bust out laughing or whatever. So it's just like, it's just known like, Will, you around. And because Destiny's single, producers is being messy. So Kimmy basically tells Tisha that the first night's going to be real chill. They're going to watch movies. She's like, because today was their actual anniversary. And so she's like, we just want, to love on each other. So everybody's going to be responsible for writing a poem. So Ken is in his room, and Tricia, she shows up late because it's the actual day of her final decree for her divorce. And so, Trisha's kind of in a low mood, and he basically is talking to her just like, just don't allow it to ruin your trip. Like, just trying to like de-stress and, let go of things while we're here and just kind of enjoy the time. So everybody shows up to the fire pit and stuff like that, sitting down, eating, and they start reading their poems. Let's see. First was, who went first? Did Nell and Chris read theirs? I feel like they did. I think Ken basically wrote about like being new to the group and appreciating everybody's just like, lessons, and like they've helped him grow essentially with the time that he has been in the group. Tisha, she goes and basically was like, when I think about love, I think about Maurice and the sacrifices that you've made for our family. And although I may complain, I see that you still do it for us. And she was like, although the past 7 years have had me doubting your love, you still show up in ways that, through your sacrifices. And so I love you. And then Maurice, he went and he basically was like, Tisha, he basically was like, what most men say, you make me a better man. You make me want to strive to be a better man. All that bullshit. Because at the end of the day, what's the one thing y'all never want to be? A better man. Through y'all's actions. Y'all talk about being better men, but y'all ain't never moving with y'all's feet like better men. Taking steps to be the better man. Because if you were, Marceau, what Tisha is asking from you right now would not be so offensive. What Tisha's asking from you right now would not be so offensive. You want to stick to this, 5-year plan that you keep talking about. Oh, me and Tisha made a plan. But guess what, Marceau? Plans change. Life happens. People evolve. That plan, I guarantee, really truthfully honest, doesn't fit for the current events of what's happening in y'all's life right now. Because I guarantee Tisha's income is included in keeping that household afloat. See, that's what you niggas always want to forget. Oh, somebody, you be the man of the house or whatever, you take care of the family. But I guarantee Tisha's income is a part of what is keeping the house afloat. So this stay-at-home BS that y'all be want women to do is really for naught. It's a facade. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can afford having a woman that, you know, to be a stay-at-home mom or whatever, ultimately, at the end of the day, that woman should never depend on that because you niggas is fickle. You niggas is fickle, okay? Just, yeah, like, a woman should always have her own coin. Point blank, period. But nonetheless, he basically is like reading the poem about how she making a better man, his family this. Producers is over there paying it to Martell because, you know, he ain't got nobody to write no note to. Martell sort of kind of like, he didn't write a poem, but he just basically was just saying like, you know, thank you for inviting me, you know, still allow me to be here, you know, all that type of shit. Trish basically says her poem of heaven could have waited for both of her parents. You know, her dad, I guess, was like a heavy smoker, drinker, one of them old school dudes that woke up drinking scotch, you know, I guess that's kind of what it was. Plus he ate unhealthy. You know, men don't be taking care of themselves. Like, they really don't. So, she was like, why couldn't you just listen and took the lessons that you basically were preaching to us? You wasn't living your dang self. A coincidence. Then she did one for her mom. And Kimmy basically was like, thank you for sharing that with us. I know that was, you know, tough. Nell also kind of like extended a little bit of an olive branch to Kimmy. She basically was like, you know, thank you for inviting me. I know we're not in the best space or whatever, but like, you know, this does help feel like we can bridge the gap a little bit. So, they stand up and Kimmy was like, even though she kind of looks sad right now, you know, I guess I just do want to, you know, say congratulations to Tricia. You know, her divorce is finalized. So they like cheers to the finalization of the divorce, right? So the next day, they actually did really cool. Like when I love when like the whatever shows, like they actually take them to do cool stuff. Like going through the caverns and stuff like that. I like watching that type of stuff. I'm interested in those things. So, and also it's like different. It's different than the usual, okay? So, they, the next day, basically are debriefing. Kimmy talks to Maurice about how, you know, the night went with the poems. And she was just like, you know, Martell didn't read his. And, you know, he didn't really have much to say. And Maurice was like, yeah, you know, his public speaking. And she was like, that man ain't got no problem public speaking. He just got to be activated. And Maurice was like, yeah, that's what I was literally going to say. He's like, until Martell get mad, then all of a sudden he be knowing how to spill stuff. Martell know how to talk. All of a sudden that dyslexia go away when he get to being mad and trying to spill tea on people, okay? So yeah, Kimmy was like, right. And so little do you know, Kimmy, you the one who activated that motherfucker at the end of the episode. Yeah, so they go and do the caverns. Destiny also was talking to Martell a little bit, and then she also mentioned basically like in her confessional, she was like, yeah, you know, Martell, he isn't single but does have somebody. It was like he's here single but does have somebody, you know, they just couldn't come on the trip. How do you guys feel about Coleslaw not being a part of the show? Because at this point, Martell is just extra space. And a part of me almost is like, go ahead and bring the bitch on. Like, because like, let's see the life that Martell created. Let's see the mess that Martell created. Like, maybe a part of Coleslaw not coming on, I also feel like is Martell not wanting her to come on. Because then we'd have to, you are now opening up your life once again. And he knows he don't want that criticism, that smoke for the chaos that he created. I partially feel like Martell, as much as people want to be like, oh, it's Melody stopping her. Yeah, a little bit. But I also think Martell, in his hearts of hearts, also don't want Ariel coming on either. But he's going to act like it because he needs to appear to her like he wants, because he's with her. Like, he's got to appear to her like he actually wants her in some way other than get married to her, because, bitch, you ain't getting a ring, Coleslaw. I hate to break it to you. You are not getting a ring by any means. But they do the caverns, and then they go on boat rides. All the men on one boat, all the women on another boat. So on the men's boat, Maurice kind of opens up the floor and asking Ken, like, hey, Ken, you know, was it Maurice? Marceau brought up the question of like, are you a safe space for Tricia, even though she's in a time of grieving a previous life, like a previous marriage? You know, he's like, because yes, like she's moving forward, but at the end of the day, like that's a loss. And Maurice is like, yeah, like he's like, I never thought I'd be like in the process of a divorce. He was like, when I was going through that, like, hell yeah, I was sad. Like, even though you might be making a decision that is for the best of you, having a divorce, there's still a part of it that is going to, you know, still part of it that's going to experience pain, because growth is painful, because you are now mourning whatever idea that you put in your head that kept you staying with an ancient nigga in the first place. Like, you're just thinking about of the time you wasted, like the kids you had, the kids you probably shouldn't have had, you know, the kids you had at the wrong time. You're thinking back on just a whole bunch of stuff, and like, you gotta grieve that, because of also part of you is grieving yourself, and like almost like how you feel sad that you put yourself in a situation and trying to offer yourself grace at the same time, you know. But nonetheless, Kim was like, yeah, like, you know, I'm fair in doing that, you know, like I'm always be there for her. And Maurice was like, you know, so like with that happening, like, does that make you nervous about the fact that, you know, because before this, you know, Kimmy kind of told me about how she was talking about spinning the block. And he was like, yeah, you know, I talked to Trish, like, she ain't really say it like that. And Will was like, nah, she said spin the block. That's why I low-key like Will, because Will kind of low-key do be holding Ken's feet to the fire. And he was like, yeah, no, I was there with charges. She said spin the block. And so Ken basically was like, look, you know, I am one of those guys where it's just like, I feel like if I did something and if she did something, like I can't be coming at her. Like, that'd be hypocritical of me if I did something, like, to be coming at her for her doing something. Like, we both are equally culpable. Of course, the niggas, nah, we ain't finna do that. Like, nah, Maurice talking about, I get mad if somebody use my toothbrush. Basically talking about, I'd be mad if somebody was able to get my woman. And it's just real odd how men all of a sudden just can act like and know that being with another person while being married, or being, you know, whatever, exclusive, entertaining another person, how that can feel effed up, how that can be wrong. But showing up when it comes to the women, y'all have nothing but pure expectation for her to take that shit and keep rolling like nothing happened.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
And then Martell in the confessional, nigga, you got mitigated gall to sit there talking about, what Ken talking about, if she did something enough. But he's like, nah, okay, can't do that, because at the end of the day, you know, as he said, he was like, hey, because you know, at the end of the day, if you let them do one time, they're gonna do it again. And I said, pot meat kettle, you bald-headed, dusty-ass Negro. You are speaking as if you don't literally fit the description of what you're describing. So it's like, you don't want to accept somebody, like, taking somebody back in cheatation, but you wanted Melody to constantly take you back, and the umpteenth of disrespect that came. It wasn't just the cheatation, Martell. It was just the disrespect on top of it. Like, I just was like, you niggas like make me disgusted, because it's just like, y'all really be having expectations for women to just swallow the BS that y'all give them, but in return, you can't seem to find the same grace, right? But after that, they start discussing like being cool with each other, because basically, like, I guess Martell brought up like, oh, you know, Martell, like, we out here with Chris, like, are y'all good? Da 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 da. And Maurice was kind of like, you know, man, I'm never gonna have a problem with my guy, Chris. You know, he loves to, you know, my guy. So he was like, but I ain't gonna lie, you know, I was just trying to come to you talking to it from a place of like, you know, trying to be there for you and all this type of stuff. Like, and we was doing business, yada yada. And Chris was like, yeah, but ever since then, nigga, we ain't talked. Then Maurice, I guess, tried to come and defend his brother, talking about like, you know, yeah, he talked to me about doing work with you. And he was like, okay, but he didn't tell me that, you know? Like, at the end of the day, because Maurice was like, I'm just trying to come at you. Shoot, you came back when we was talking about who the fuck are you? He was like, dang, why you had to come at me like that? What do you mean why you had to come at me like that? And then Marcel on the boat basically was kind of like, oh, why you trying to do like, why you trying to come at me like that? Chris is like, I ain't trying to come, like, I'm not coming at you. I'm telling you the truth. Like, now all of a sudden somebody's coming at you aggressive and all this rah, but that's not what you were doing, Marcel. That's not what you were doing, Marcel. Man, get the fuck out of here. So nonetheless, they put the kibosh on it. Y'all know how men do. They just gonna sweep it under the rug. And yeah, Ken basically was like, in the question, she's like, these guys want me to be soft like them, but I don't think like that. And trying to be like, oh, I should leave Tricia or whatever because she did that. And it's like, I get what Ken was trying to say, but it's not that they want you to be soft like them. They actually view it as you being soft because of the things that you are allowing Trish to get away with. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's the idea, but ultimately, like, Ken is like, but y'all are soft because you can't even accept the fact that a woman did the same shit that you did, So I see both points of views nonetheless. So on the women's boat, obviously, Destiny and Tisha gotta have their moment, right? So Kimmy been hella messy this season, okay? So Kimmy basically was like, oh my God, it's so nice being out here. Destiny, Tisha, you guys, I see y'all, y'all are like, being, what's the word? Y'all are being, start with a C. Copacetic. Like, y'all are being copacetic, y'all are acting, responsible human beings, adults. And so she was like, does this mean that you guys can move forward? So Tisha basically was like, Destiny, I do want to move forward with you, but like, it's just so hard because like you said so many things about me. You were making jokes on me. Then you said that stuff about Marcel. Like, you don't think that was wrong or whatever. And Destiny was like, no, Tisha, like, I only said that because like I was done. I'm tired of having to apologize to you. Like, it's always something with you. Like, what I was doing with Kimmy, like, it was a joke. It was just like, oh my God, like, she's mad when, like, we're good women at this, she's mad. Because truthfully, that's how it be coming off, Tisha. Like, you will just find something to pick out to be mad about because Tisha is hella sensitive and insecure about her background and just who she is. And so, like, Destiny saying, oh, she got friendship Tourette's, like, talking about, like, because she was like, you were talking about me. And it wasn't even like Destiny was talking about you. So it's really making me feel like, Kimmy, how the fuck did you run back and tell that information to Tisha? Like, Kimmy, you low-key started this. Like, for real. Because nothing about it was just, like, so worthy and needed to go run back and tell Tisha, like, oh, Destiny said you have friendship Tourette's. Like, huh? And then when Tisha watches that shit back, I wonder if she's gonna see that it wasn't even like just, oh, she was trying to say it in a malicious type way. Like, it was just like, it really was like, it was a flippant comment. And so it's either you're gonna say like, you know what, I might have been too sensitive, or you're gonna realize that you were in the wrong but still just double down because you just need you refuse to like allow somebody to feel like they could, I guess, say something like that. But Destiny, this is where I'm gonna get on your ass because you basically like, well, Tisha, like, I feel some type of way because like you called me a hoe. You saw me talking about putting that hoe in a box or whatever, and she was like, I didn't call you a hoe. She was like, yes, you did. She was like, talking about, oh, you put that hoe in a box, whatever. And so it's like, Destiny, I get it. You need to have a comeback, something to be upset at her about, but was she per se calling you a hoe in that moment? No. And you know that. But to kind of, rebuttal that a little bit, like when Destiny was like, you're talking about me in my background as a single woman, like you're trying to diminish my career. Tisha basically then was like, well, Destiny, I didn't say half the stuff I could have said. So then it's like, or she's like, what I could have said about your womanhood. And so then it's like, oh, like Destiny said, oh, okay, is this what we doing? Like, okay, then bring it then, bitch. Like, Destiny was kind of like, bring it.
I heard you bitches was looking for me. Bitch, here I go.
Like, I got something to say too. And so, Tisha was like, no, Destiny, because I'm not like you. I don't want to be like you, you know? Like, Tisha did take the step forward in apologizing first of like, okay, Destiny, I apologize for, you know, saying the whole comment. And Destiny couldn't just meet her halfway, you know? Destiny basically was like, no, I'm gonna keep the shit going, you know, because she said, I'm apologized out, bitch. Like, I'm apologized out, which I can also feel, you know. But y'all drop down in the comments. Y'all feel like Destiny's kind of putting like 20 on 10 when it comes to that like hole in a box comment, or do y'all think like it's fair for her to feel like, damn, like I'm done because you constantly finding something else for me to like have to apologize for? But then we get to the end of the episode. Everybody's there for dinner, right? And Kimmy immediately, as everybody is sitting down, so what'd you guys do on the boat? I was like, damn, Kimmy, like, can y'all give it a second? Like, damn. Immediately when she said it, even Tisha was like, oh, like, Tisha had to remark, like, oh, okay, then, bitch, I guess we get right into it. Like, so, of course, Marceau, you know, the guys had a really good time, you know, we were able to hash out a couple of things, and, you know, as men, we having our moments, you know, me and Chris Fletcher, you know, would you say we have a problem anymore, Chris? You know, I feel like we're good. He was like, Chris basically was like, yeah, we're good. So then Marceau, being hella passive aggressive, he did that shit on purpose. He knew, because it was him trying to make the point of, look at us men being able to move past things while y'all always continue to be fighting and dramatic. Look at us men, you know, being men and coming to basically a truce. And it's like, Marceau, you so full of shit. Because basically, as Kimmy said in confessional, yeah, y'all, everybody's, you know, clapping and everything like that, you know, clapping and putting their hands together and stuff. But y'all just swept that shit under the rug, right? So then when Marceau gets to talk about, oh, you know, me and Martell, you know, it's because it's all about creating boundaries going forward. You know, me and Martell, if anybody at this table has had, you know, the hardest hits and fights and stuff, but we've established, you know, boundaries. And so Kimmy was like, oh, like, so since that talk, nobody's broken the deal? And Marceau was like, no, I haven't. She was like, huh? So Martell hasn't said anything? And Kimmy and Martell kind of looked like, huh? And he was kind of like turning his head like, what? And so I was like, oh shit, Kimmy, here she goes. She's lining down the gunpowder. She lined down the gunpowder. And then when she said that, oh, well, Martell said something about Maurice's concussion, then she lit that bitch. Okay? Kimmy, girl, you should have just stayed quiet, girl. Because nothing about, like, it just, Kimmy, because she is pissed off at Martell, especially for bringing that woman on there talking about essentially how she hooked up with both the brothers. And when Maurice told the story originally, bitch, nobody believed it, Kimmy. When I say nobody, bitch, I mean nobody. Because it sounded so unsequential. It sounded non-commonsensical. It was just like, girl, Kimmy, even you know the shit sounded crazy. So when I remember when, like, on the show, Maurice went to go tell Martell, he wasn't even necessarily laughing about the concussion, because I don't even remember I don't think Marceau told him about the concussion. Or if he said it was more like a, man, yeah, and I got a concussion. You didn't say you went to the hospital, all this type of shit like that. But nonetheless, when Maurice get to chatting, basically having to now, like, pick up what Kimmy putting down, Martell basically was like, damn, Kimmy, like, what's up? Like, you know, what's your problem with me? And so she was like, well, you were laughing at Maurice with the concussion. And Maurice finally, I guess, like, mentions, like, yeah, you know, oh, yeah, you did do that. And Tisha was basically like, well, because, like, you allow him. And then Kimmy was like, well, yeah, like, you do allow him. Like, yeah, you don't set no boundaries. And it's like, yeah, so, Kimmy, you want to be mad at Martell, but yo nigga won't check Martell. Both Marceau and Maurice have literally let Martell run wild. Hold on, let me cancel this spam call. When I tell you spam is on it early in the morning, the spam be starting early, bitch. But yeah, both Maurice and Marceau have allowed Martell to say so much without retaliation or rebuttal. It's like crazy. Like, there should be no I'm cool, calm, and collected around the nigga who quite literally called my woman dumb as a box of rocks. Like, like, and that's why Tisha is so sensitive to people speaking about her, because she is so insecure about her background, so-called being from the other side of the tracks, you know, like, she is always looking for the thing that is making her look bad, or like people talking about her to be outcasted. Like, she needs to get that figured out. But nonetheless, Martell basically was like, Kimmy, you mad at me or whatever. Like, he didn't tell the story about the concussion. You know, Martell getting big hype. And Maurice was like, dude, yeah, I told you about the concussion. Yeah, you thought the shit was funny. And Martell was like, everybody thought that shit was funny. He was like, cause Maurice, what you was saying, what you was talking about, like, so okay, so I'm laughing or whatever. So what happened then? Tell us what happened then. Tell us what happened then, Maurice. Maurice sit there and go, okay, I hit a tree, I hit a pole, and I hit an animal. And then the silence that the quick silence that happened after that, before everybody busted the fuck out laughing, it was kind of like, I hit an animal. Everybody bust out. Like, literally everybody bust out. Because it's like, nigga, listen to what you saying. I think it was either Martell or Ken that was like, don't you tell that story again. Like, nigga. Because once again, you sound stupid. He was like, yeah, you hit all that shit. Nigga, you told me that you couldn't remember. That means you was drunk. Maurice, you was drunk, right? So now Maurice is feeling like, oh, okay, so that's what we doing? Okay, so shit is funny. Now I'm about to start laughing at shit now. You know, I'm about to start thinking shit is funny. You know, and so, Martell was like, see, even your family laughing. Everybody at the table was laughing. Kimmy, he's like, even Kimmy's like, no, don't do that. And I'm sitting there looking at Kimmy like, bitch, like, I get it that you wanted to have it all with Martell, but like, just know, Martell is a lot of things. Is he a lie, cheating, sack of shit, asshole? Absolutely. But sometimes a wrong clock, I mean, a clock is, a bad clock is still right twice. And sometimes Martell, he is spilling the tea and the truth about y'all's niggas that y'all already know, that y'all be knowing, but y'all just don't want to hear it, right? But you instigated with a man that you know has nothing to lose. And there's no more of a dangerous man than a man that has nothing to lose, okay? So now he basically talking about, you was drunk, like you was drunk. Now Maurice talking about dismiss. And it's like, yeah, just because your shit was dismissed don't mean that that's not what happened, that you was drunk. Because ultimately at the end of the day, still to this day, Kimmy, the story don't line up, because Kimmy said that she woke up and didn't know where you were. But then when people started pointing out, well, dang, like, Kimmy, if you were home, you didn't know where he was. Like, okay, so what was happening? So she's like, oh, joke's on y'all. Like, you know, I knew, because he told me before he left, he was heading to, like, I guess the credit one or whatever, because y'all know that low-key, that was a rumor that was a hot spot back in the day, that was a hot spot back in the day. So now all of a sudden, you know where he's at. You talking about you called around, called him. Maurice was waking up from whatever bitch house that he was at, because he got busted being drunk at what they say, like 10, 11 o'clock. So he clearly was leaving somewhere to get back to you. And unfortunately didn't make it, because he hit a pole, a tree, and an animal. Shit, I would have asked him, what animal was it? He But yeah, that was the episode, you guys. Y'all tell me what you feel about Love Marriage Huntsville. This episode was super entertaining. Do you guys feel like Kimmy was just like itching to start something with Martell because she's in a mode of not liking him, which is so crazy because Kimmy, you was all down for Martell at one point, especially against Melody. You was all down for talking about Martell. Like, Martell's a good guy. He's a good guy. Is he now, Kimmy? Is he now? When I tell you Kimmy has had a fall from grace with me, like, and it sucked, bitch, because, like, Kimmy, I really used to go up for you, like, for real.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
But just, like, damn, now to see where you at, just, my gabber is flaccid. My flabber is gasted. Period. So, yeah, you guys drop down in the comments what you feel about the episode. Y'all stay tuned. Hope by the time this is up, after that, we'll get into Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, catch you in the next one. Deuces.